post in the chat or even on my Facebook page, you know, saying that we're live. It'll let people know that we refreshed.
You want me to post the link? Or just
you don't have to post the link. You can just say we're live. That would be great.
Okay. I'll do that right now.
Because the page that they're watching from would have to be refreshed. I appreciate that.
No problem.
What you munching on over there?
I got some garbanzo beans and some, you know I'm a vegan, so I got garbanzo beans and some onions and some mushrooms, and yeah, that's it.
Yum. All right.
Let me say, all right, refresh.
So probably wait for a minute or two and let people hop on.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll just do a real quick intro. I'm Carla Zen Queen, and I am the creator of SEO Sizzler. SEO Sizzler is a training product that teaches you not just SEO. I really simplified it so that beginners can come in and set up their website or blog, if you will. They're kind of the same. They serve the same purpose, the foundation, but so that beginners could come in and set up, purchase a domain name, build their website, and do that properly in the way that Google is looking for, and then build your authority by blogging daily using SEO. SEO is just some simple coding that goes into content, whether that's textual content, video, images. I teach how to do press releases, pretty much any piece of content. We're getting into some consulting, so that's what this hangout is specifically about. I'm opening up my mastermind group and taking a handful. I've got 10 members already. I'm looking for 10 more people to join at the mastermind level. And so this is kind of the promo into the mastermind. The 10 people that are already in my mastermind group will be comped to the SEO Sizzler if they're not already in the SEO Sizzler. My offer is, I'll get to that at the end here, I think. We're going to jump into this real quickly. I wanted to let people know ways to kick open the door. When you get into consulting, especially on an SEO level, you're going to want to be armed with some professional speak, if you will, or some sales speak, or some real simple icebreakers to, open up the door to be able to promo businesses. And so I have a tool. I'm going to see if my computer will allow me to open up this tool and screen share with you. What I've been doing is using this tool to excuse me, to generate leads, and then I take the leads and I assess what this business is missing and what I can help them with, right? Which can be a multitude of things. I'm looking for my file here to start this up. And so that's rocking and rolling. Okay, so it can be a multitude of things, right? I know that we have some people that are creating promo videos and then, showing businesses the videos and trying to kick the door open up that way. What I'm doing is a lot of, I recently ranked, I do website design outside of SEO. And so I recently ranked my own service site for website design, and I'm starting to get some phone calls, and I'm going to discuss how that came about. But instead of waiting for the phone to ring, right, I'm also compiling lists, lead lists, and pulling information from these lead lists that allow me to kick open the door with online leads, right, but offline business, if that makes sense. I got to get something to drink here. Some of that is I shared what's called JUX, J-U-X, SEO. And what it does is you can put a domain and a keyword in, and it will give you, I think there's a video in the group. If you're not in the group, let me know and I can add you in. But it will give you the readout, like if you're missing any of the coding that's in the SEO Sizzler group in the quality content PDF. It will tell you if you're missing any of that, right? And so if you're in SEO Sizzler, and you should be, you can match them up and go, hey, I can fix the H1 or the H2 or the H3. And, so the thing then would be to, how are you going to tell this business, look, I ran this report. The report itself is a big piece because it will give you a grade. I ran a report for somebody yesterday. It came up an F, meaning they had no SEO applied to it. And so when you can walk into a business with a report like that and go, look, I do SEO, and I ran a complimentary report for your business, and here's what it come back as, right? People are not able to find you if you're not ranking in Google, right? And so that's where you can start. What I'm doing is a 5-point. I think the easiest way to show today is looking for my whiteboard. Here we go. The easiest way for me to show, I got to wipe off my to-do list today. Like, I have this handheld whiteboard that's really easily portable. Hi, Matt. Glad you can make it. So I have this little whiteboard, and I usually take my laptop with me anywhere I go, so it kind of looks like a briefcase. And I can easily slide this in my my bag, and so I can literally, Matt, you will have seen this. Steve, I know that you're in the Webinar Boss Mastermind, and I'm going to say that we have, for real, 100K a month tools that maybe we're not real sure or real confident in using. This is my 5-point 30-day marketing plan. Looks like a lot of nothing until I go, you find their foundation. Like the lady that I sold yesterday, like she's already selling on eBay and Amazon, and what she's selling is a flea control pill, right? Now this is ridiculous. I went and did the SEO research on this, and I said to my son last night, one of my claims to fame is the outraking Amazon. She is selling on Amazon, and Amazon keeps pulling the rug out from under her, right? They keep going, well, there's no expiration date, so she has all these steps that she has to keep meeting. At the same time, she's losing sales. She's basically, in her own words, computer illiterate, but she's generating $22,000 a month between eBay and Amazon, even with them pulling the rug out from under her feet. But I quickly realized she had no foundation. So when, or if, Amazon pulls her products, she has to, she's losing sales. And so it was real easy for me to say, you need a website. You need a website right smack in the middle. You need a website that, so that when Amazon and eBay pull the rug out from underneath you, business goes on without eBay and Amazon. That was like a big, powerful one. The other thing is, this woman was so quick to, she wanted help. Her little story was, I'm saying, when you ask questions of people, even if they're personal questions, that pattern interrupt, like, she just seemed like she was real urgent, and so I'm usually the urgent one, right? And so I just sat and listened to her, and watched her, and just assessed her body language. Like she was really stressed out about this, and she's got 2 employees even. So I'm telling her, you could hire somebody to totally manage this for you, like insert my foot, right? But so when I did this 30-day plan with her, I showed her the website, or I showed her that I could build a website. She's already got the eBay and Amazon going on, right? But there's still these 2 spots. She has no website. She has no Facebook fan page. So zero social media. So I'm not even going to just put Facebook there. I'm going to go, she needs a social media manager, right? She's already got too much going on. She's stressed out. she's busy dealing with eBay and Amazon. She might even want to hire somebody to handle all that for her. Her big stress was this. She's in a time crunch. She's getting married in 6 weeks. This is the last thing she needs. She's getting married in 6 weeks. Her husband's, you know, going to be a police officer, so he's testing out this week. And then Amazon pulls the plug on her. And so the first thing I did is go, you know, I went to her house. She's like a half mile from me. I did a search on this medication, and I found there's only 165,000 results. I looked at my son, and I said, guess what? We're outranking Amazon again. I already know that the minute I publish one blog post on her site or one piece of information, there's not a lot of sites that are just explicitly one thing, the flea control. But you guys already know I don't have to add on the Amazon, I don't have to add on the eBay, but if I add social media, even just Facebook fan page, and get some ads running for her, you know, obviously we're going to probably fall into, you know, Facebook pulling the rug out from under us too, but the reality is it grows her reach. And then what might I add here, right? She's got no video, and we know video is selling, and I'm saying if there's only 165,000 results and there were no video results for this medication, I'm creating her a video, right? On the side. That's not included in what I already sold her, but I already know there's no video. I can create a little video snippet and upsell her $197 for a 3-minute video. And so it really is just assessing what they do and they don't have. And then doing this 30-day marketing plan. I have not had anybody, I'm closing like 100% with this 30-day marketing plan. So I know, Steve, you have some lead lists I gave you. Matt, you actually bought the tool from me, which was cool. I'm going to show that here if I can, because it really gives me that information. Kind of jumping around here, but that's all right. I'm going to screen share and then have you guys let me know if you can see this, because I'm not sure if it will work. Yes, it should. So this tool here literally has banks, bars, beauty salons, bicycle store, car rental, car repair, casino, city hall, clothing store, doctor, and we're just going to run one for doctor. If it's not in the list, right, you can still poke a keyword in here and it will give you results. But I'm going to poke my zip code in, which is 78418. I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas. I can set this to, you know, anywhere from a 3-mile radius to a 31-mile radius. I don't know why they're awkward like that, probably because they're in kilometers or something. And then I can set this to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 on up to a 200. But for time's sake, I'm just going to do 10. We're going to do doctors within a 30-mile radius. It's going to pull me, it's going to pull information for me. There it goes. Boom, 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 boom. So that first run shows me their website, right? Gives me their business name, where they're located, a phone number, and their website. If I click this, it's going to tell me whether they're mobile ready or not. Mobile readiness. People need to know that as of April 24th, whatever the date was, Google made a switch to favor mobile responsive sites. You know, I don't think it's any secret that everything is moving mobile. Not running. Everything is moving mobile, and so being mobile responsive is so very important. So it's like, it used to be the length of time you had a domain would, you know, and that still plays a part, but not as much as it used to, because authority used to be accumulated over the length of time, the age of your domain, right? But a domain that has been around for 10 years but hasn't been updated in 8 shouldn't be ranking #1, right? Because it probably doesn't have relative content. It hasn't been updated. you know, and Google's really looking for that fresh, updated, new content. Even if it's regurgitated a million times, they want fresh, new, relative content. So they made the move to favor mobile responsive sites. What that means is those people are forced to, if they want to retain their authority, become mobile responsive. And if not, they kind of fell off. They kind of fell off the ranks. They're no longer holding that authority. And so a lot of these business owners, you know, like I'm saying, if they built their website 5 years ago, even, I found one. I should have ran a bigger one, but I found like here, I see this list. Even though this guy is mobile responsive, his WordPress is outdated, right? So I could still use this as, you know, who's maintaining your website, that type of thing. But you also see it shows me whether they have Google+, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn, right? I'm gonna make this bigger. Literally, this gives you, you know, everything that you need to assess what a business might need. Obviously, if this is a business that's an LLP, limited liability partnership, you're going to have to get through, you know, because these are doctors too, you're going to have to get through that face person. You're not going to be able to talk to the decision maker if you just did a walk-in method. I don't encourage people to do a walk-in method unless you've set an appointment, right? Unless, like before I started the recording, I was telling Steve about a walk-in method that I did, but you're going to have to give some time, right? And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But so with something like this, I could look at, you know, this one right here. He's not mobile ready, and so I have a plugin actually that I can poke in with WordPress and make any site mobile ready. And bada bing, bada boom. It takes me about 5 minutes. I usually charge about $147, and that sounds ridiculous. But to a doctor that has no clue and doesn't want to deal with this crap, $147 is a nice price to just have it done and dealt with, right? But you got to get into that doctor, and so you have to go through that front person. And so doctors might be a little difficult if you don't have a lot of getting your foot in the door practice. Some of the things that you can intro on is, one, that mobile readiness. If they don't have videos, this is huge. I know Matt has done this. He's ranked videos and then used the video as you know, to kick open the door to discuss this with a business. That's pretty powerful, pretty brave too, right? That's a lot of courage. So, you know, shout out to Matt for taking the steps that he needs to step into those shoes. The Flash isn't so much a big deal. WordPress. I was telling Steve before I started recording that I found a pet supply place in Dallas that had WordPress 2.4. So again, that tells me that they had nobody managing and that their site needed to be updated. So again, it equips me with the information that I need to solve a solution that they may or may not even be aware of is a problem. And then I don't think I have to go into you know, how some of these businesses are missing social media. This one that I have highlighted, so like this guy, right? Corpus Christi Podiatry. He is not mobile ready. He has no social media, none, zip, zero, nada, and has no video. So this would be something that definitely, you know, maybe promo him on the mobile readiness or video, right? Because you know, feet are expensive and we all need them. I'm gonna close out the screen share and come back to you guys. But so that tool, here we go. Here I am. So that tool is really powerful in that aspect. You know, if you're picking it apart, obviously you're going to have to pick it apart because some of them are going to have those tools in place and some of them are not. And so I've sold some of these lists. I'm selling them $25 for 200. But what I'm getting at here, I have started a mastermind group where I'm going to literally record what I'm doing. I have my 19-year-old son that can walk behind me very nonchalantly and record my exact steps. This guy called me. What I did the other day is it's an RV company that is right up the road from me. I don't have the money to buy an RV right now, but I want one, right? And so we had the time, and I'm like, just for giggles, let's go check them out. But I had some questions because I've got kind of a smaller truck. What I'm saying is I went in there with some questions on something that potentially I might be looking to buy at some point, but I already knew I wasn't ready to buy today. But kind of with subconsciously, I'm going to sell this guy. I went in there with that in my head, but I'm going to sell this guy in a way he doesn't even realize he's being sold to. And so I went into the biggest fifth wheel, and I recorded a video, right? A walkthrough, a tour, and then I went into the office and asked if there was a sales guy, right? And so out looking at some more, well, we're waiting for the sales guy. And ask him some pertinent questions, and then ask him if he's got a business card. I explained to him, I'm not looking to buy today, but when I'm ready, you're definitely the guy I'm going to come back to, because you gave me all the information that I was there seeking, right? Told me the weight that my truck would pull, and I didn't want something this big or something this small, and do the age right. I gave him my time. He gave me his business card. This business card gives me permission to call him. I've just created a personal relationship with this guy, and he has no clue. But one of the things that I did when he handed me his card, I'm like, oh, I kind of played dumb girl. Oh, you have a website. I wonder who handles your social media marketing, because I do this, right? I didn't say I build websites because he already has one. But who handles your social media? I went in there unarmed. Who handles your social media marketing? And he said, oh, we have a gal that does some stuff. And I said, oh, well, interesting. That's what I do. But didn't try to sell him on anything. I then go home. I look at the website. There's not a lot of information on there. There's no social media to it. I have permission to call him, right? I have permission to email him, because we've created a relationship on me needing solutions, right? His mentality is, he's trying to sell me, but at the same time, I'm selling him. So I shot him an email and said, hey, look, I checked out the website. The first part was appreciate you taking the time and did it when I'm ready to purchase, that whole spiel. But at the same time, when I came home, I ran a quick report on your website, and I saw that you were missing this, this, and this. If you'd like to talk about this, we can set up a time. And he calls me. And it like I say, I went in there knowing exactly what I was doing. Sometimes this backfires, right? And so I didn't go, okay, at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, I'm gonna go sell this RV guy with my little schmoozing, right? It was, me and my son were passing by, and I'm like, let's stop. And then I just go into that mode, right? I'm gonna get this guy's business card. That gives me permission to email him. But he thinks I'm going to email him asking more questions. He has no idea that I'm trying to sell him. Or if he does, right, by the time that I actually email him or pick up the phone and call him, he absolutely knows that I'm trying to sell him. I've already created this relationship with him, though. And so because he picks up the phone and calls me from that, right? So we have a meeting next week, which is just huge. I already know I'm going to sell him. I've already sold him. It's not on. It's not anything that came from the list. What did I sell him on, guys? I sold him on myself. I sold him on myself, and I did no selling, right? It was, I gave him my time. We conversed. I kind of played dumb with, oh, you got a website. Who does your marketing managing? And that might have gave him an idea, but I'm certain that his head was, he's doing his job that day. His head is in answering my questions and selling me. And so he blindsided him. I'm going to tell one more short story and then get into the nitty-gritty of what I'm trying to accomplish here. when we were in Houston, Matt, I don't think you were in the room, but Jermaine asked, I know Jeremy was in there, Jermaine asked us what was the biggest sale that we ever closed. And at that point, I had closed my biggest online sale at $3,000 just a couple days before that. But I didn't do that with a lot of confidence, right? I have a lot more confidence now than I did then. And a lot of it came from one conversation where Jermaine asked us, what's the biggest sale that you ever closed? And I got to thinking, and you know what? I have closed a $78,000 deal. Like, I didn't walk into that business thinking I was going to close a $78,000 deal. But the reality is I went in, I was a dog groomer. I had quit a $22 an hour job to learn dog grooming to enable myself to go be self-employed. So it was, very similar to what I'm doing online, working for commissions and, having to go through the learning curve and getting this $8.25 an hour, and then not, while I'm doing my training. And so I had to work up to that. But I also had 2 children at home. I had some savings when I made that decision, but I had a goal of how long I could work for $8.25 before we needed to see some substantial financial changes. And so that time was running out, right? I'm at 1.5 years of dog grooming. I have a vehicle that I can't drive 15 miles every time I stop. It is stalling at a stop sign. I don't know if when I turn it over if it's going to start. And so I started getting a little bit desperate. I've always known how to do website design. I was trained in 2001. I have an IT degree that I've never really used. So this is me saying, I've always had this tool. I've depended on this tool when I've gotten desperate, and then I forget that I have this tool. And so this is me really stepping into, I'm very good with web design, but I haven't really given my all to it, right? Because I haven't been valuing that tool as much as I can. When I can go out and close a deal for $1,500 just based on the fact that I know one thing, I know how to build websites, I'm like, oh my goodness, don't want to get sidetracked. So I have a vehicle that is stalling out every corner. I've got 2 kids at home. I'm only making $8.25, and I'm like freaking out. What am I going to do? I haven't done this fast enough. And I start looking for grooming positions, but everything I'm finding is freeway time and too far away. But in my job search, I find a gal that has four businesses and 0 website. So I go out to this woman to sell her a website for her 4 businesses, right? And I'm talking, this was, what, 2002, 2004, right in there somewhere. No, it was earlier than that. But regardless of the time, she had no website, but had 4 businesses. I walk in there to sell her a website, and I walk out buying her business. I walk in there to sell her a website, and I walk out buying her business. Because when I told her, I do website design, and you need this. She said, I would be very interested in your services, but I'm selling my businesses. And I took a look around, and I'm like, as I'm praying, God, send me an answer. This is what I needed. I'm looking. I need a business, but I had never considered. I had considered starting up a business, right, doing it the hard way. I had never really considered buying out a business because I wasn't even in a spot where I'm not a person that keeps credit cards. I don't like banks. I'm going to get into my little personal things. I don't like banks, so I don't keep money in them, so I don't have bank accounts. I don't deal with credit cards because I'm one, like, I feel like, if you don't have the money to buy it, you probably shouldn't be doing that. I don't like that whole little system of that, so I kind of get funky with that. And so I was never looking at trying to take out a bank loan, but this woman, she wanted $10,000 to $15,000 down and was willing to self-finance the business. So I went, wow, this opportunity is really for me. But I also knew that I could not come up with the $10,000 to $15,000 down that she wanted. I also knew that I could not go take out a loan, and even if I did, then I would have 2 loan payments. And so I had to come up with an idea that gave me some wiggle room. And all I did was I wrote this woman a letter. Again, it's I went in there. She said, no, I'm not interested in your website design services because I'm selling these businesses. I told her a little bit about who I was, what I'd been through, and basically I want to see the numbers on this business, and we're going to be negotiating. So when she gave me the paperwork, I looked at it. I wrote her a letter that just gave her some more in-depth. Like at the time, I was newly, I think everybody on the panel and maybe people watching and people that are watching that don't know at this point, I'm 17 and a half years clean from crack cocaine. And so that's huge. But at the time, I wasn't 17 years clean. So it was a little bit newer and wasn't as firm in that being behind me as I am now. But that story, getting through the addiction obstacles, and actually I had my children taken away from me, so it wasn't just the addiction obstacles. I had to work to get my children back from the county. And so long and short of it is I've been through some struggles, and I've come out 100% of the time success. And so it really is owning who we are personally and taking our stories and running with it. And so being transparent with that woman, I renegotiated what she wanted down to $2,000. She sat on that for 2 weeks. I sent her the letter. I figured $2,000 was going to be a lot easier to borrow from friends and family, right, and get that paid back than it would be to borrow $10,000 from a bank and have double payments. But I didn't know if she would take that offer unless I took the chance to ask. And so, while that was a big risk for me to be very transparent with somebody that didn't know me, I know that what I wrote in that letter, I wish I had a copy of the letter still, really, because I think about that some days and know that that business, I bought it for $80,000. I closed a $78,000 deal. Doesn't matter which end you look at it from, right? Maybe she could say she closed a $78,000 deal. But I walked away with a business that I had been dreaming about for a year and a half. I had been journaling about how I wanted to do this and how it was so impossible for me. But the fact is, I kept that dream alive and I made it happen. Not only that, and maybe I'm rambling a little bit, but I bought that business and I wasn't even content with that because I felt like I hadn't done the blood, sweat, and tears of starting it up myself, right, from scratch. Like, well, it's great that I bought the business. It didn't have my personal touch. So within 2 years, and that's really risky again, like I'm saying, I have taken risks and come out successful because I know that I'm supported, and I want everybody that's watching this to know that you are just as supported. We are within a community of people that have, even if we don't have the knowledge, we have people that have individual knowledge that we can use their services or pick into their knowledge, right? How can you help me be better at this type of thing? And so we have to, one, be working together, two, be willing to take those risks, and putting ourselves out there, even if we're not wholly confident, because I was not wholly confident that I was going to walk away with that business. And once I did, it lit a fire that made me wholly confident that within that 3-year mark of owning a business, very risky, I started up business number 2 from scratch. And I did that. I made it look really easy because I had already been through the process. I already had the tools. I already knew what I needed to do because I'd already been doing it. And so it's a lot of kind of like how we do icebreakers on Facebook. We can do icebreakers with business. If you go to a local coffee shop frequently, and they know your face, right? Because maybe you stop in there every day, or maybe you stop in there every Wednesday. You have a relationship with those people, especially if it's a small business or a personal business. Those are the ones that you can, be personable with and create that little I know you kind of, right? I would go with the dog grooming. Again, I'd be in Home Depot and I'd see somebody, and it's kind of funny because you have to realize that while I had clients, the dogs were my clients. I knew the dogs. I knew the dogs' names, but I didn't know the dogs' owners' names, right? I didn't have to deal with the owners. They just paid me. It was the dogs I was dealing with. So I'd be like in the bank or in Home Depot, and I'd be looking at somebody like, I know that person. Where do I know them from? And it would bother me, and I'd have to go to them and go, do you have a dog? I know this is a dumb question, but do you have a dog? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you look so familiar to me. And they're like, you're my dog groomer. And I'm like, you know, tell me your dog's name. And they'd go, Fifi. And oh, yeah. And I could be able to tell them their last name. But what I'm saying is, I was creating relationships, not with my client was the dog. That's who had to like me. That's who I had to, you know, work with. And so it's just kind of funny. I had that happen, you know, reversal. I had a gal actually in Home Depot come up to me and say, I know you from somewhere. Did you used to work at, you know, when I was confused, I didn't recognize her. And I'm like, nope, I didn't work there. And she's like, I know you. Do you live? And I'm like, nope. And she was just perplexed. And so I went, do you have a dog? And she's like, yeah, I do. I said, what's your dog's name? And it happened, you know, she's like, Hannah. But it was like Hannah. And so I'm like, Hannah Loftus? And she's like, yes, you know. And so it's just those little things that create that can create a huge personal connection. So I encourage people, if you go to a regular coffee shop, just ask, you know, do you guys have a website? Or check it out. Run their website through, like I'm using Jux SEO because it's free. It's juxseo.com. Will give you a free SEO report. I use them where if it gives a C or less grade, I can email that to the business, or I can set up an appointment with the business and bring that as, you know, the before. If they hire me for the SEO services, that report tells me exactly what I have to do to bring it up to a higher grade. So that higher grade, running the report after you've done the services, will show a higher grade. So you have the proof, right? You don't want to have to go into explaining what SEO is. I really dumb it down with, are you ranking locally on Google? You know, you can do that with your cell phone right in their spot, right in their business. You know, where are you coming up on mobile ranks? Where are you coming up on Google ranks? Where are you coming up with video ranks? And if you're not coming up on that first page, or you know, relatively local, you're missing. They're leaving money on the table. That's the bottom line. And so, you know, SEO is one of those things that kind of confuses people. So I break it down to, you know, where you're ranking, or we can get you higher ranks. That I can guarantee. I think any of us can guarantee that if we apply ourselves with that quality content PDF. That's where all those codes are. So I also have that 5-point marketing plan I showed you. That image is in my mastermind group. I think all of you are in there, Matt. Maybe you might not be, but I can throw you in there because you're a sizzler and you're a beast and you're a noisemaker. But I want you to realize how powerful that is, because it doesn't just have to be like, you can break this down. What if this is, you know, I did it with a website, but what if this is, they have no Facebook. I mean, literally, or social media. This can be broke down to social media. And so adding Facebook, adding YouTube, adding Twitter. I always say the you know, big 3, 4, how many ever you want to work with. And depending on what their business is, LinkedIn or Pinterest or whatever. Literally, you can break this down, because all of us know how to get traffic on Facebook. All of us know how to get traffic on YouTube. All of us know how to get traffic on Twitter. All of us know how to get traffic from Google. And so we don't necessarily have to show them how, just that we can, right? How can we give you more exposure on Facebook? Fan pages, ads, right? And we just break it down. How can we get you more exposure on YouTube? Videos, SEO. That SEO will rank you, right? And then they show up in Google. How can we get you more traffic on Twitter? Same thing as Facebook, right? You need a profile, and you need regular tweets, right? And you need them linking back. Same with LinkedIn, right? And so when we do this, all this says is we know something that you don't, right? We know something that you don't. It achieves all the same thing. The only thing that people are after, well, they're after one of two things. I think as marketers, we're dealing with people that are after money, 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 and I hate that part of business. When we go after how I can help you or how we can help each other, that is where loyalty comes from, right? I kind of shy away from people that are chasing the dollar, right? How much money can I make? If that's the first question somebody asks me, I prefer to ignore those people. I'm into I like facts, statistics, truth, and what I can guarantee. So I can't guarantee what anybody else is going to go do with anything we've learned, right? It's just like I can't even guarantee my own income. The one thing that I can guarantee is as long as I'm implementing the steps of the training that I've taken, that it's inevitable, right? I've seen that over 3 years. I started out really small and was making, little $1.20 commissions on Amazon, and I was content with that. And then when I became discontent with that, I started making money. I opened up other streams of income. So at this point, every video that I upload to YouTube is making me money via AdSense. I've got a check coming from them this month, I'm sure. Same with Amazon. I'm running traffic to some sites I have. It's like it's not work for me anymore. And so I want to keep challenging myself. Like, this is a challenge to me, not really, because I kind of go out and make it easy. But this, I realize, is where I really have some finesse. I was telling Stevie too before I started recording it, when we went to cash this check from the deposit yesterday. The cashier actually had a Thrive patch, and she had been in for 3 weeks and has results. And when I told her what the other gal was making online, and that's what I'm saying. We Matt, this is especially for you because I know that you're out there actually implementing this. When we go in, we see Nate do this. We can use other people's stories, right? When somebody asks us, I believe in being totally transparent. Have you done this for a company before? I can honestly say, yes, I have, because I've done it for myself, right? I've seen my YouTube growth. I've seen my Twitter growth. I've seen my Facebook growth. I've seen my Sizzler growth. I've seen Matt's Sizzler growth, right? I can talk about our community. Well, and it's not just me, right? And so when you can go, oh, well, I've done this for myself, and then we have other people in our community that are doing the same things that I'm doing, and they're getting the same results. And so there's no reason that I can't get these results for you, right? And so it kind of turns that around into, I think I say that a lot because I'm one. I know that I could be a very powerful speaker because Lord, I love to do it. But when I get into in front of groups or a lot of it's my head, right? I realize that it's my head messing with me. When I get on webinars, I was telling Steve that I appreciate, like I sent out, ooh, join me on the panel, right? I'm going to be transparent and say I get so full of anxiety before these webinars. That's why I've done so few of them, that I psych myself out. And I know it's just my head. I don't know what that's about, but I get nauseous. I've actually vomited before webinars. And so, but how do I get through that? I just have to keep, like I told Matt the other day, it's kind of like a new pair of shoes, right? If I put the shoes on and go, they don't feel good, I'm never wearing them again. I have to walk barefoot. So I have to put the shoe on, and I have to walk in it when it feels uncomfortable. And I just know that the more I walk in that uncomfortable shoe, I'm either going to break it in or we're going to get a new pair of shoes, right? And so it's kind of the same mentality of, we don't necessarily want to go barging into the local auto dealership and say, hey, I know you've got better things to do, but you're dealing with me today, right? And so I hope that gave kind of a nonchalant, way to hit them sideways without them even realizing that what you're trying to do is sell them. And it really takes that you know, we don't want to be vacuum cleaner salesmen. Does that make sense? Like, we don't want to be taken as that door to door and it's a job and we're walking in with our briefcase and I'm Joe Schmo, and you know what I'm saying? Well, we want to maintain our professionalism. We don't have to maintain it so much that they see us coming and send us out the door before we even get to provide the value that we came there to deliver. And so the mastermind group, I think I said this at the beginning, but I think before we started recording, I'm opening up the mastermind group. What I'm doing is I can give 800 of these leads from the tool that I used earlier. I can give you 800 leads. I can give you SEO Sizzler. That's normally a $67 product. And then we're moving into this consulting. This will be the intro to the consulting. What I have in there right now is this 30-day marketing plan. We're going to get into really defining this, like I did a couple examples, but really defining it where if it was an SEO service, if it was a video service, if it was a social media service, so that you can go close 100% of times with, you know, you can do this on a piece of paper even real quick. When I'm saying when you show people that 30-day marketing plan, it doesn't even have to be 30 days. I mean, I told this woman 72 hours we're going to have her up and running because I can do that, right? I can do her website in an hour and boom, have her up and getting traffic right away just from publishing using my SEO tactics. And so I'm opening up the mastermind to only 20 people. I have 10 of us in there right now. These are some of the guys that are on the panel, Jeremy, Matt, and Steve. And then we have some other people in there that are not on the panel tonight, and that's fine. Opening it up to only 10 more people, and I'm going to be really crunching down everything, like how you want to carve your offers. Basically, I have mine broke down to 3, right? Even though I can provide, you know, a multitude of things, I really had to define it down to 3 because we can't overwhelm businesses with all of our knowledge. We need to zero in on one thing, and once we sell them on ourselves and that one thing, then we have this opportunity to sell them a much larger package or give, you know, build future opportunity with them. Like the gal that I sold the website package to, because I sat down there and did the 30-day marketing plan, she already knows that she wants the social media side of that. But you know, she said, let's do one thing at a time. I already know that once I lay out the website and she sees what she's getting and that is actually working, that's a no-brainer. She's going to be another $1,500 sale. I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks down the road, just because of, you know, one, the personal connection. I literally, she called me. I literally showed up at her house 15 minutes later, and so that's, you know, not everybody has the time freedom to do that. So again, that's something, you know, when you can provide a service that they're looking for right now, that's like a mobile mechanic. You know, I can't imagine the kind of money that they make because they're able to deliver on the spot, boom, boom, boom. So when we can do that, that's also powerful, and it makes them feel special. And so I'm going to ask you guys if you have any questions, or if any viewers have any questions. I didn't open this up on the Facebook page, but I think most viewers, if you're viewing this on my YouTube channel, I pay attention, so you can leave a message or connect with me on Facebook. Steve or Matt or Jeremy, you got any questions? I appreciate y'all joining me.
Hey, can you hear me?
Certainly can.
Okay, yeah. Basically, well, my question was, I just got my first consulting client like last week, and it's for social media marketing and management and that kind of thing. But I was kind of having trouble on trying to gauge what I should be charging. You know what I'm saying? Because it's on a per month basis. So I was trying to figure out what I should be charging. Right now I'm running their Instagram, their Twitter, and I'm about to start running their Facebook next week. But I mean, for them, I have a set price already, but I'm just thinking about for future reference, like, what should I be charging these folks?
That's a very good question, and I think that's more of a, how much time are you giving to it? It would be, what are you promising to deliver, and what would that be worth to you? Because that's really who has to answer that question, right?
Right, right.
You want to make sure that, obviously, if you're, like me, I have a lot of time, so I don't gauge it by time. But so I'm saying for you, because I know you have other things going on, I would gauge it by time, Steve. If you're using automation tools, it still takes you time to set that up. What is it worth to them, right? What kind of money are they making? I have a form that I have people fill out that kind of gauges, what kind of budget they have. Some people are not willing to give up that budget, right? But a good monthly, I would say at the very least $100 a week, dude, because I'm gonna say you're spending, if you're, and that's broke down to 2 hours a day, $10 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, well, somebody might say, well, $100 a week, or 400 or $500 a month sounds like a lot. When you break it down to, that's 2 hours a day at $10 an hour.
Yeah.
Then it makes it sound like it's, affordable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Okay. Cool, cool.
I've just gotten to a point, and I don't say this out of arrogance. I say it out of time consumption. Matt's got to know that, and Jeremy too, that when we're especially if we're promoting like several different opportunities and trying to build our own business up at the same time, and then we're trying to deal with life, that we find that we cut ourselves short with time, right? But using automation tools like Steve, the SM Beast, that automation tool, literally you can schedule out all the Instagram, you can schedule out all the Twitter. I believe that the Facebook is not working, but Facebook integrated, you can schedule everything out for the whole week. So, and you can do that with WordPress too. You can schedule your blog posts out, all within SM Beast, right? So that, and again, it breaks down to, are you spending two hours a day doing that, or are you spending 2 hours on a Sunday night and setting them up for a whole week? I'm to a point where my time is so valuable to me. I might do, like I said earlier, I might do like a mobile plugin for 147. I am really not, actually at this point, the only thing that I have, personally that's mine to sell, that's under $100 is my SEO Sizzler. My services and my products, I'm not doing anything under $100 except for SEO Sizzler and the $7 niche list. And that's because I deserve it, right? And it hasn't always been that way, right? I do deserve it. Thank you, Jeremy. Right? And really, you guys deserve it too. But I say that because, a year and a half ago, I didn't have a problem doing a website for somebody for $50 and then couldn't figure out why I was broke, right? And it's because, like I said, I've had an IT degree since 2001 and never really valued it, right? It's not that I didn't, I still got student loans, so, let me say that education still isn't paid for yet. Somebody's got to pay for it. I never really looked at it like, here's me saying, I never really wanted to build websites, but who am I to deny what I know, what I can do fast, efficiently, what I can put a price on and really enable myself? Who am I to say no to what I know? And so it's kind of like me devaluing my knowledge, really devalued my financial situation. So the minute I said, no, I'm no longer willing to accept $50 for a website, I now want $150, I'll be damned. I've made more sales popping them off at $500 than I ever did at $50. And it's because of that value thing. This woman that I sold to yesterday, had I told her $3,500, she probably would have paid $3,500 because she herself told me she's computer illiterate. She doesn't have the time. She doesn't want to learn it. She wants to live her life. She's getting married. Her husband's, all this. And so she would have paid very easily. She would have paid $3,500. But I'm saying, I couldn't ask her for $3,500, but I had no problem saying $1,500. And that's a full website with e-commerce. Again, I don't do any e-commerce. In here I go setting standards for myself, right? It might sound like I'm cutting a lot of people out by, I won't do anything for under $100, or I won't sell this for under 500, or I won't do this. Really, I'm empowering myself. I'm setting standards for myself where I'm not going to have these. I've had some people do this where they want something for nothing because they think it's so easy because I can do it in an hour or I can do it in 2 hours, and they can't figure it out. And so I'll go do it for them, and I'll give them a discount, and then they refuse to pay me, right? What do I owe you so much money for? Because of my knowledge, right? And it makes me so mad that people do this. And so I'm done dealing with those people. And how do I get done dealing with those people? By saying, I ain't doing anything for under $500. And they don't, well, you're cutting yourself off. I'm not cutting myself off. I'm cutting off the people that don't serve my business, right? At the end of the day, we have to realize that stuff really does not go on in a business environment. It doesn't mean that we don't deal with unhappy customers, but good customer service is not blocking somebody on Facebook. Good customer service is, what can I do to make you happy, right? And then to try to do that. Of course, there's some people that you just can't make happy, and it is what it is. But it definitely shouldn't reflect on your whole online persona, for Pete's sake. And so it really is leveling up that professionalism too, because there are some people, I'm going to take Jeremy's words from today and say there are some people that are doing this as a hobby or don't take this as seriously as some of us are. And I was guilty of that too. I can say 2 years ago I was not taking this as serious as I'm taking it today. And I have to take it seriously because my future depended on it, right? My future depended on, I wouldn't be here on the beach. I wouldn't be here in Texas. I wouldn't be here with this smile and I'm getting a nice tan from being at the beach. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't willing to, one, believe that it was possible for me. At the time, I was very sick from a mattress in a cockroach efficiency, no lie. I started cutting videos, not wanting to be seen because I was sick, and I got sicker from there. Right, it went downhill rather than uphill, and then the uphill battle. I don't know how I maintained all this. All I can say is, irregardless of what my circumstances were, I showed up every day. I showed up every day when I was homeless. I was like a smiling homeless person, and people are like, "What are you doing? Going to the library? Shouldn't you be looking for a house?" Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing at the library, and I'm doing my work too. I can do both, right? And people thought I was a little crazy, and I'm okay. I'm even okay with people thinking I'm crazy, because crazy got me a beach home, right? And so I just really had to shut up some of my own mental chatter and other people's mental chatter, and to really grab a hold of, what do I really believe is possible? Do anything? It's just at that point where what I put my mind to, what I give my action to, plays out. And I'll be even more honest. I said this to Steve. It's scary as hell, right? Because we want success, but do we understand the responsibility that comes with that? And I think that's where some of us, I'll speak for myself. I shouldn't speak for other people. That's where it scares me. I know that that people need me, and I'm one of those people. I don't like to be needed. I like to be wanted, but I don't like to be needed because I don't know. It's this neediness thing, and so when we can empower ourselves, that where people, one, want to be connected with us, want to be around us, and want to be associated with us because we're givers and we believe in ourselves, that enables us to really empower other people, right? And so that's why, I say I've done this with apprehension, not apprehension that it's impossible for me. I've done it with the apprehension that this is so possible for me, it scares the crap out of me. It's possible for anybody. I'm just not going to go into that, because your story is powerful. Everybody has a story of struggle. It doesn't have to be that you were sick. It doesn't have to be that you were homeless. You have a story of struggle. Maybe you got fired from a job. Maybe you had a failed relationship. Maybe you had, your Facebook ad account shut down. It doesn't matter. Every story of a struggle has success at the end, because you've resolved it. And so we come out of struggle batting 100%. And that's one thing that I've had to remind myself, that even though I have these doubts and I have these apprehensions, it doesn't mean that I'm not successful or that that's not for me. It just means that I'm gauging myself. I'm trying to gauge myself at a pace, and I see this momentum going back up again, right? And so I tend to go, oh my God, here we go again. And I've got to stop doing that. So I need you guys. That's why I need my community, for when I step back because of fear of success. I have somebody going, oh no, Steve's been on my butt for 2 weeks, consulting. When can I have this? I appreciate you, Steve. And I keep going, I put files in the group, and I'm going to do a webinar, and then I flake on the webinar, and here I am showing up this week. And so I just want to encourage people to be consistent, believe in yourself, ask questions. When you feel, assess yourself. Like I'm saying, I've assessed where I lack. If I'm feeling uncomfortable, like I can't do a webinar by myself, I'm going to say, hey, Jeremy, will you come hold my hand? Hey, Matt, will you come hold my hand? Hey, Steve, will you come hold my hand? And look at all these people here holding my hand, right? And so, again, we go out there and do business like this, guys. And it really is just that easy. Just as easy as it was for me to ask Jeremy to show up, to ask Matt to show up, to ask Steve to show up. When we go out and ask a business, can we help you? They're going to say yes when we show them that 30-day marketing plan, and we go in there like I know Matt has, like I know Jeremy has, like I know Steve has, being apprehensive but transparent in, no, I really haven't done this for a business, but I have all the confidence in the world that I can do this for you because I've done this for myself, and everybody that I'm connected with is doing this for themselves. And somebody's got to give you a chance, and then you can use that story for the next story. On a local level, this is what happens. This guy knows this girl, or this girl knows this guy, and this was kind of the scenario with the website I sold. The lady in the check cashing place confused me because she knew this woman's name. How did she know her name? Because it was right on the check. But she knew the face that was attached to that name, because that gal comes in and pays her bills. So she confuses me with, oh, when are they getting married? And I'm like, does she work here, right? And so kind of threw me for a loop. But that personal connection, I know she's going to go back and she's going to talk to the other gal, or the next time the other gal comes in, she's going to talk, and they're going to talk about me, right? And so that's going to create a buzz. I've done this before, the little small town that I left in Minnesota. I cut a video. It was a tornado video because the tornado was right outside my house. It was so stupid. But as I'm going down the basement, because there really was a tornado, as I'm going down the basement, I'm grabbing my laptop, and I'm pushing the video up onto YouTube, not realizing, I realized that it's going to get ranked, and I realized it's going to get some views, but I did not realize that I was going to outrank all the news stations in a 150-mile radius. I did not realize that people that do construction, insurance companies were going to start contacting me. It created a madness. Like, I was hiding out in my hometown. I didn't want to be known. Everybody knew me in my hometown, so I didn't need that kind of attention. And so it created a spot where I wanted to run away from. And so I say that because while I'm saying local business, I am not marketing to my neighbor, right? I'm not marketing to the guy up the road, but maybe over there, because you don't want to do it too tight. Too tight sometimes is smothering. You want to keep You want to build a personal relationship, but not so personal that they know all your business, because the minute they know all your business, they'll chase you out of town. As they didn't really chase me out of town, I shouldn't say that. They overwhelmed me with my awesomeness, and I went, oh no, I just can't deal with this awesomeness. You guys are making too much of a big deal out of me. And they made it so I couldn't hide in my small town anymore, right? And so the truth of that is, you know, everybody does die famous in a small town. I had the radio guy come in and going, you know, we got to share tips. And I'm like, yeah, I got this marketing program for you, right? And so I say that, you know, not to instill fear. It's just keep your relationships not so tight that, you know, like the radio guy knows my husband. They drink together, and he knows all my personal business. And so that was uncomfortable. I felt like I couldn't do business in that small town because there you know what I'm saying, there was too much gossip and too much personal stuff that, you know, was apparent outside of the principles. And so, you know, it would become a personal issue rather than a business issue. And so that was part of you know, that was, you know, again, one of those things that came into play that helped my decision making in, I need to leave this place, right? Not because I didn't want to be known. I didn't want to be known and held under a microscope in a town of 3,500 people. Jeremy, you look like you want to say something. No? You got nothing to say, Jeremy?
Oh, I have a lot to say.
Come on out.
Carla, this stuff that you're going over right now is pretty crazy. Not only because you just, you know, laid out step by step what you, you know, the whole process that you went through of doing, you know, what you just got done doing over the past 2 or 3 days now, and you know, just the power of us being able to go out there and, you know, just easily duplicate it, following exactly what you just said, and all the other things that you, you know, laid out. And let's see a few things. This software, the software that you that we're using, and there's so much power in that. And whoever doesn't have that already, man, grab that from Carla like immediately. There's an endless amounts of things you can do with just that software, right? But yeah, you know, going on to local businesses, that stuff is so powerful because people come into business, you know, local businesses like that, and they say, hey, I want to open my own business. You know, they're so excited. They're, you know, it's their number one goal is to have this, you know, luxurious business, or, you know, whatever kind of business they plan to have, but they don't think about all the back end parts to their business. And we happen to be doing those back end parts, right? We are so valuable to a business person, and you know, believe it or not, you know, and Carla went over this, they're overwhelmed, right? My sister is a business owner herself, local business owner, and she gets phone calls all days of, you know, we say solicitors, right? But we don't want to be called that. But they're really just a bunch of knuckleheads that are following a script. You know, sometimes doing more damage to a business than actually helping them. So we tend to get a bad rap, and, you know, we get the phone hung up on us. We get the phone, or we get the nose without, you know, even allowing ourselves to explain ourselves. But the way that Carla just laid it out, going into a business to go buy a, what was it, an RV? To go buy an RV, but you're not really buying an RV. You're scoping out the whole scene. You're being seen. You're seeing everything, and you know, laying it out. You're pre-framing for that big sell, right? And then she goes on about upselling, right? You always continue to sell until they stop buying, right? You never know how much, and you know, it's not just about the money, but how much could you actually help them with all the things that you're upselling them for. And you never know, right? It could be a rinky-dink business that's sitting there, and, you know, the dude behind it could be a millionaire. He just, you know, hasn't put any of that marketing into it, so his business not making money, so he don't want to put money into his business until someone like us comes along. And then there's those big old businesses that, you know, put absolutely nothing into their business and they die. Right. Carla, thank you so much for asking me to come out here and hold your hand, right? Because you were actually holding my hand and pulling me. Because I actually, I'm not even going to say it on here, but I got 3 ideas straight off of this webinar alone. And you see, I was back and forth. I was cooking and just getting in the house. When I first came on, I was going to the grocery store. But even in the little time that I stayed on this, man, I love you, Carla.
Check this out. I love you
Oh,
too.
shit.
And you know, bye. He goes. I'm gonna reiterate something that Jeremy reminded me of. I cut a video. I published it on YouTube, but I didn't share it out on social media, so you guys didn't see it because I talked too long and I didn't share it. It was like 15 minutes long. But it had to do with, hey Jeremy, welcome back. I love you too.
Yeah, that wasn't the mute button.
It wasn't the mute button. I love it. But you brought up something, the cost of business, right? Understand, I just had my son grab something because a good business owner, if you've not owned an offline business, I'm going to show you something. My accountant that I used to pay $75 a month to do my paperwork, you're supposed to hold on to all your stuff for 7 years, and I'm not 7 years out of my business yet. So I still have financials here. And this is actually advertising for, this is a yellow book, Yellow Pages, right? And it was just a 2-line bolded thing. This is $124.78 per month, right? So Steve, when you're asking what it's worth, what is advertising worth, right? I would say, you know, sure, not every post is worth $100 per month, but definitely $100 per week, right? We know that Google, like Yellow Pages ain't it anymore, right? It's not Dex anymore. Not that they don't exist, but people aren't picking up the phone book and going through the phone book like they used to. What are they doing? They're grabbing their phone and going to Google. Period. So, you know what? I say this. I'm publishing. You know, some people are getting mad at me because I won't. Unless they're in our immediate circle. I'm not doing like a 500-word article. I think this sounds outrageous. This is where my prices are high. A 500-word SEO article, I won't do one. It's, you know, basically a web page, just one page, for under $100, because I realize when I can poke up, like for instance, just off the top of my head, somebody can search the mastermind, the Hawaii mastermind, and I'm going to guarantee you that Nate's blog post is going to be like second or third. You do the Atlanta mastermind, and I'll guarantee you that Nate's blog post is going to be like in that top 5. You do, Matt, you'll like this one, Get Right with God Through Prayer. Guess who's ranked? Nate O'Brien. Because I did that. And so I started realizing, while it may seem like just a blog post, there is so much power behind, you know, 500 words. 500 words is worth $124 because it's not going to go away in a month. In fact, I'm still making money on videos that I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I still get click-throughs for CL Bananas, and that was, you know, 2.5 years ago. It's that content, and, you know, like I say, the businesses don't realize this. They don't realize the value in what is Google looking for. Google's looking for that, you know, fresh daily content, whether that be on social media that points back to your site, or whether it's publishing a blog post on your site, whether that's running ads. You know, Facebook, or not Facebook, Google is giving attention to where the traffic is going as well, right? And so businesses aren't opposed to spending money, but, you know, like when I did business, I had an advertising budget, an advertising budget that was usually eaten up with my yellow pages, I could maybe do coupons maybe once every 3 months, but I definitely had an advertising budget. And so some of these businesses need to come up to par with, one, yellow pages isn't working. Not to say, cancel your yellow pages, but what are you doing to bring yourself up to par? I was also one. I didn't upgrade my phone for 3 years, and oh my God, I can't figure my phone out, right? This is happening for businesses too. Technology is growing so fast. There's no way that the carpenter down the road is keeping up with what's going on online, because he's over here building houses, but he's definitely seeing a decline in business, and it's going to be because of what they're using for advertising. And so it's really powerful. One, that mobile thing that I said at the beginning, hitting them on, if they're not mobile ready, definitely hit them up. Two, if they don't have a video, Matt, you already know, hit them up, because it can make the difference in 100 more people to 1,000 more people, whether that's daily or monthly, that are seeing their content that wasn't before. And that's all the objective is. We don't have to promise, we don't have to promise anything except for you're going to get more exposure. You're going to get more clientele. You're going to get more views. Your content is going to be seen by more people than if you weren't using my services, right? And we don't have to BS them. I mean, we have all the proof in I know everybody on here's made sales, right? Probably the people viewing have. If you're implementing the training and putting it to work for you, it's inevitable. But again, like I say, it doesn't come without taking risks. It doesn't come without believing it's possible, even with the fears. It comes with boom, boom, boom. You just got to push through, do it. Wear that shoe that doesn't feel comfortable for a couple days, because after a week, your blisters will be gone and they'll be your favorite pair of shoes, right? So that's all I have for tonight. I appreciate you guys for coming out and holding my hand and listening to me, right? But I think, because this is all I've ever done is business. I'm not the type of person that, I think early on it was authority. I've always rebuked authority, right? Not that I like to be that authority, but I like to be in control, and that's kind of me taking control of my life and saying, no, I don't have to work the 9 to 5. No, I'm not limited to whatever minimum wage is, or whatever statistics say I'm supposed to earn according to my degree. None of that, right? It really is, what do you want from life? What change do you need to make? Whether that's a personal change, a financial change. The one thing that we all have control of changing is what we do daily, what we do differently. If we're looking for more, we have to do more. We have to be willing to take the risk, even if we don't know the outcome. I think that's where a lot of fears come from, is we want to control the outcome. Whether that be a monetary outcome or goal setting, we want to control that. And we can, to a point, right? It really is being able to allow for whatever that outcome is, just trusting, faith, if you will. I did not, I say this with, I have all this business knowledge, and I have to say, what have I learned in the last 3 years about business? I've learned tons, right, about online business, because that really wasn't where my forte is. And so when I can combine the fact that I have all this offline business knowledge, I've had, I've several businesses, some successful, some going put-tooey really quick, but you don't know until you know. And so that's the same thing. Don't cut yourself off at the knees before you've even tried. That's something I'm learning from my 19-year-old son. I want to shake him. He's so stubborn, but he cuts himself off at the knees, right? He's got an excuse for why he can't do something before he's even tried. So we're nipping that in the bud too. Anybody, you got something to say? Steve, Matt, Jeremy, anybody? Otherwise I'm done. Awesome. I appreciate you guys. opening up the mastermind. That's going to be $97 for the next 10 people. You either get the tool, if you have a Video Maker FX, I can give you the tool, or you can get the 800 read out your choice of business category, and the SEO Sizzler, and what else is in there? Oh my gosh, my 30-day marketing plan. I do have that image, you guys. Matt, I don't think that you're in there, but I'll throw you in there right after this is over. But I do have that 5-point image that can be printed out, or you can save it and take that with you and close these businesses with that 30-day marketing plan really easily. Powerful. So again, I appreciate y'all for coming out. If you're watching the replay, you can connect with me on Facebook or hit me up via the YouTube channel. Peace, y'all.